What would you do if kindness knocked on your door in the middle of a storm? Charlotte thought she was just helping a stranger. But sometimes the universe has plans we never see coming. Tonight, let me share with you a story that will remind you why small acts of love matter more than we ever imagine. Picture this with me. It's a Tuesday evening in November, and you're Charlotte, 65 years old, living alone in a house that once echoed with family laughter. The rain has been falling for hours, that steady, persistent kind that makes you grateful for warm tea and soft blankets. You're settling into your favorite armchair, the one by the window where you can watch the street, when you hear it, 3 soft knocks at your front door. Most people might hesitate. It's late, it's stormy, and you live alone. But Charlotte has always believed that kindness shouldn't wait for convenient moments. When she opens that door, what she sees breaks her heart in the most beautiful way possible. But she has no idea, absolutely no idea, that this moment will change everything she thought she knew about loss and love. Standing on her doorstep is a boy, maybe 13, maybe 14, soaked to the bone, shivering in clothes that have seen too many nights like this. His backpack hangs heavy with water, and his eyes hold stories no child should carry. Now, what goes through Charlotte's mind in this moment? She thinks of her own grandson, the one she lost touch with 11 years ago when her daughter moved away after that terrible argument. She thinks of all the cold nights, all the doors that might have stayed closed to a child in need. As Henry steps into her hallway, something stirs in Charlotte's memory. Something about the way he moves, the way he quietly says, "Thank you," but she brushes it off. After all, when you're lonely, every child reminds you of the one you miss. What Charlotte planned as one night becomes 3. What she intended as temporary shelter becomes something that feels almost natural. On the second day, as they're sharing lunch, Henry mentions he's good at fixing things. Before Charlotte knows it, he's repaired her squeaky kitchen cabinet, the one that's been driving her crazy for months. Something about the way he says, "my mom," past tense, like she's a memory instead of a person, makes Charlotte's heart clench. But there's something else, something in his mannerisms that feels familiar in a way she can't quite place. It's on the 3rd morning that everything changes. Charlotte is making pancakes. Henry mentioned they were his favorite when she hears him humming in the living room. It's a soft, unconscious melody, the kind you hum when you think no one is listening. The spatula slips from her hand. You see, there's a lullaby Charlotte used to sing to her grandson when he was small, a made-up song about brave little bears and cozy forest homes. She sang it to him every night for the first 6 years of his life, until that fight with her daughter, until they moved away, until the silence stretched so long it felt impossible to bridge. And Henry is humming that exact melody. Charlotte's hands are shaking as she walks into the living room. Henry is arranging the couch cushions, still humming, completely unaware that his world is about to shift on its axis. Time stops. The whole world narrows to this moment, this impossible, beautiful moment where loss transforms into found, where kindness reveals itself as destiny. What happens next is what happens when love recognizes itself across years of separation. Henry doesn't run to her. He's learned to move carefully through the world. Instead, he takes one step, then another, and Charlotte meets him halfway. Through tears and laughter, the story comes out. How Henry's mother, Charlotte's daughter Sarah, had struggled after they moved. How she'd gotten sick. How she'd died 2 years ago. How Henry had been bouncing between foster homes and the streets ever since. How the storm that brought him to Charlotte's door wasn't random at all, but had driven him to wander through his mother's old neighborhood. The same neighborhood where Charlotte still lived, still waited, still hoped. Now Charlotte faces a beautiful problem. How do you rebuild a family that's been broken for 11 years? How do you help a child who's learned to survive on his own remember what it feels like to belong somewhere? The first call she makes is to Sarah's number, the one she's kept in her phone all these years, never quite brave enough to dial. When the automated message tells her it's no longer in service, Henry gently explains what Charlotte's heart somehow already knew. But there are other calls to make. To the social worker who's been Henry's case manager, to the foster family who reported him missing, to the school district about enrollment, to the doctor about getting him checked over. For the first time in 11 years, Charlotte has purpose that goes beyond her own quiet days. And Henry moves through her house like he's remembering how to be a child instead of a survivor. He finds his old pictures in Charlotte's photo albums. He discovers that she kept his drawings from kindergarten taped to her refrigerator. He learns that his room, the one that was briefly his when he was 6, has been waiting for him all this time. But the most beautiful moment comes that evening, when Charlotte is tucking him into his old bed, his real bed, and Henry looks up at her with eyes that are finally at peace. "Grandma," he says, "do you think Mom knows that I found you again?" Charlotte smooths his hair, the same gesture she made when he was small, and smiles through her tears. "I think," she says, "that your mom has been guiding you home all along." So tonight, as you settle into sleep, remember Charlotte and Henry. Remember that sometimes the storms that seem to threaten us are actually carrying us exactly where we need to be. Remember that kindness, real, open-hearted kindness, creates space for miracles we never see coming. And maybe, just maybe, remember to answer your door when kindness knocks. You never know what beautiful story might be waiting on the other side. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow night for another story that proves love always finds a way home.